Okay.
So, good morning all and welcome to today's session. I'm Satyaratna, working as a sales catalyst in Silotech Private Limited. And I would like to welcome each one of you on behalf of Silotech. And thank you so much for attending today's webinar on decoding remission of duties or tax on export products. As when an invoice has been mandated with respect of 1st January 2017 for those registered taxpayers who has turnover exceed 100 crores in any preceding financial year since 2017 to 18. Let me give you a glance about our company. We are global IT solution company having presence in India, US and Kenya, and we are the niche players in enterprise resource planning space. It's ERP. Also, we believe in enhancing customer experience with our uniquely crafted add-on solutions around digitalization, accounts payable automation, and transformation. And we are pioneer in GST return filing and reconciliation solution, followed by e-webels, and now with e-invoicing. I must say Silotech was the only company in early 2017 which has demonstrated invoice line-wise reconciliation in live environment. The only product then available in the market which was in the position to cater government vast wish list. And we are consistently serving few reputed accounts like GMR, L&T, Kalyan Jewelers, Nipro, ITW, Skyworth, Royal Canin, Orbit Experts, etc. in GST space. Apart from this, we also have global accounts like PayPal, Diebold, Discovery, Hive, Grive, Centum, etc. And guys, we have a speaker today, Mr. Vinit Suman. He's co-founder and managing partner of Darda Advisors. And he's having 15 years of experience in field of indirect tax, including GST, and around 13 years in Big Four. So this is all about the speaker details and about our company. And a small note, during the webinar, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in question tag, which you can see on right side. So I request Vinit sir to take over the session.
Thanks, Satya. If you can allow me to share my slide, I can share my slide and then we can start session. Is my slide visible, Satya?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Good morning, all. Being we are on the end of September and the year end, and we have seen this year completely from a COVID impact, and being that there are a number of last dates in the month of December, which we know maybe for the income tax returns, for GST audit, even for e-invoice implementation for the companies having turnover more than 100 crore. Yes, this month is going to be crucial, and thanks to all who have taken the time and joined this session. People are thinking about the other part, but this scheme is also going to be crucial. The scheme yet to be introduced called the RODTEP, the remission of duties or taxes on export product as a replacement of existing MEIS and Merchandise Export of India scheme, and the ROSCTL for particular taxable sector. Being we are looking to have a new scheme into picture where the exporters and the industry players, associations, and government and the committee, which has been recently came into existence from last 4 months, has to play a role. And they are looking at 1st January to the date when this scheme will be introduced. Now we need to look into it, how the scheme works, why we need to have the scheme. Do it will really help to exporters to have the same or more benefit from the current MEIS benefit? What needs to be done from exporter side for computation of the basis, and where we are now? We're going to discuss today all these topics on RODTEP in the next 45 minutes, and we can take the queries after end of session. In between, if you believe any specific query on the specific slide, I will request at time Satya to just stop me, and then I can answer on that. Before we go into the scheme, we need to understand how the why the exporters need to be incentivized. and how the current policies and procedures central government and state government is helping them. If you go by the OECD guidelines and Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, their main aspect is the goods or services should be exported, not taxes. It means any taxes which comes as a part of my procurement or a process or production or services, it should be given back to me as a refund or rebate or reimbursement. It should not be gone back as part of my price part embedded to the suppliers or my customers. On that basis, there we have the foreign trade policy scheme run by the DGFT. We have the GST refunds, we have drawbacks, we have state incentives, we have a different PLI scheme like recently launched by the government. All schemes' objective is to make our product competitive in international markets. If we talk about the current schemes which are prevailing in the current scenario, we can just divide into two boxes: pre-export benefits and the post-export benefits. Pre-export benefits are the benefit is given in advance with an obligation that you have to do a particular level of exports. And if you say about post-export benefit, it's more about the benefit after your performance is done. It will be given in addition to your pre-export benefits. Both are independent and exclusive. It is not like you can have the one or other not. If we talk about the schemes, you have Mercantile Export of India scheme, which is going to be replaced by the new scheme. You have a Service Export of India scheme, which is currently there. Both are post-export benefits. We talk about pre-export, you have advanced authorization. You have a DFIA duty-free import authorization, mainly for the procurement of imports and consumables, with the obligation of doing a particular export obligation, and you need to redeem the license. Then you have EPCG, again it's a pre-export, and also you have the post-export EPCG scheme. It's mainly for procurement of capital goods. Again, you need to comply with having a particular export obligation to perform it. Then we have the one specific scheme for textile sector. Earlier it used to be called ROSL, refund of state levies. Then it became a ROSCTL, rebate of state, central taxes and levies. It is again a post-export given up to 8% on the export value only to the textile sectors. Then we have a particular exempt export zones, like we have a EOU, export 100 units. We have a SEG, special economic zone. So if we compile all the schemes, all the schemes' objective is to minimize the embedded tax cost, whether as an upfront exemption or by giving as a rebate or refund. In addition, we have the GST refund or rebate on the GST side. These are the major schemes which works today, and certain schemes may be there continuing the new policy which is going to be announced from the April 21 or not. Other schemes which are run by RBI, by DGFT, are mostly for a city or district or for credit limit, like towns of export excellence, where you decide a particular town who do the maximum exports. The gold card scheme is run by RBI to give an emergency credit up to 20%. Then you have the export of goods under bond from a erstwhile law, excise law, and GST, where they give back the refunds to you of all the credits, or you pay on output and take a rebate. Then you have a status holder. If you ask me, this scheme used to be in very better way in erstwhile FTP, where they used to give 1% additional benefit up to 2014 for all the export houses which have a single star, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Now it is not there in the current policy. Then you have a MDA for market development, MAI, a market access. Both are given for a particular market promotion or a trade fair exhibition. So these are the schemes which currently prevail and may or may not continue in future, depend on the new policy going to be announced. Now, when we come to the crux main of the today's topic, the two schemes which are going to go away is MEIS and ROSCTL. We will discuss why it is going, whether by exit of the scheme, whether the new scheme will adequately justify or not, we need to look into. MEIS being a post-export benefit, giving benefit up to 5% on your FOB. It is for specific products for a specific market. Earlier, they used to be called an MLFPS, a market linked focus product scheme. And that scheme was for the specific market for specific product. And same, if you ask me, has been replicated in MEIS. And this scheme has already started showing the exit, because now no benefit is being allowed for FY 2021, this current year. Even if you go to DGFT site, it will not allow you to file any export where LEO, export order, is on or after 1st April 20. If you talk about ROSCTL, it is mainly made for a textile sector. Started with the ROSL, now at ROSCTL. It is additional benefit apart from your MEIS, a drawback, and other benefits. It is even specifically for textile sector, looking to the way the competition India is facing from the neighbors like Bangladesh. And looking to current situation, you can see all these other headlines of the papers, online media, and news, where people are distressed. Exporters are not getting enough benefits. India is now not part of RCEP. Whether it's good or not, it's a debatable point. We need to look into it. Question about how much will be the incentive. Like MEIS now from September onwards till December is kept at 2 crore per IC. And major impact is on the auto sectors, electronic sector, and all, which are doing the major exports now from India. So one thing is ensure both schemes are going to exit. For this year, no benefit is being allowed. Now question comes, how the way we look at new scheme comes, where we are now, and why we need it. The first question comes, why we need it. I will just go to the history. WTO guidelines, and also as per OECD, any rebate, subsidy, or refund given reduce the price of the exported products. It is against the WTO guidelines. So US has taken the opportunity and put a case against India. A scheme called MEIS, a DFIA duty-free import authorization, EOU, and SEG, including EPCG. All these schemes are not in compliance with the WTO guidelines. And indirectly, India is supporting the exporters by reducing their price and making others uncompetitive. So they filed the case in March 18. It went for more than 1.5 years. The final result came in October, where India lost the case. And if you ask me, currently we are now at appeal stage. But as India is aware of that, we may not get the result what we are expecting from the appeal what we filed. They have already taken a proactive measures, which you see from the having the ROSL shifted to the ROSCTL, and even announced of the new scheme called RODT. If you ask me, the scheme will not work like MEIS. It is completely independent of that. Apart from the process and procedure will remain same, what we understand. But the basis is for them is whatever unrefunded tax, levies, duties, charges, fees, which any exporter of goods, we are not talking about services now, because that is all now depend on how the SCIS works. All these charges which are unrefunded under the current regime like GST, which have not subsumed other state charges and central charges, needs to be refunded back as a percentage on FOB value for every sector and every product. Being it's not a random or ad hoc computation, it's a detailed computation. It will also comply with the WTO guidelines. And also the point to be looked into it, this is the benefit to be computed by industry, rate to be decided by the committee, and then to be notified by the DGFT. And based on current understanding the way the competition is going on for specific sectors, the rate may be maximum up to 3%. Just now concern has been raised by the industry, how the way we will get over and above the MEIs. Look into current COVID situation, the way we have the issue with neighbor country, we are not part of RCEP, exports are down, how the way government is looking to compensate exporters so that they continue expanding the market and having the better benefit. So you can see the history. It started with September 19, even before India was getting the final result, as India was expecting to lose the case. Honorable Finance Minister announced in the budget speech in this year. On 13 March, they approved the scheme. DGFT announced the scheme in April. And here, good point is, a good point or a confusing point. DGFT, Ministry of Commerce, announced the scheme. The committee of 3 members, retired senior people of Ministry of Revenue, has been appointed as the committee members in the month of July in the drawback division. And if you see why drawback division, because they are doing regular computation, and regularly you can see the drawback rates are revised. That's why they involved the drawback division under Department of Revenue. And we can see similar things of drawback may exist or prevail under new scheme too. In August, they issued the notice to all the 23 specific associations, EPC, commodity boards, industry association, chambers of commerce, to get the data from at least 5 industry players for a period of October 19 to March 20 to evaluate what rate can be decided for a particular product. Again, August, they issued with the detailed formats. There are 3 formats, R1, R2, R3, we are going to discuss with the issue. With FIEO, Federation of Indian Export Organization, had a detailed discussion in the end of August, and even they released the FAQ. When they are seeing there is very limited response, they again issued the notice in the end of October to prioritize the sector, and they decided iron and steel, auto and textile will be decided first on the rates, and then only other sector will be considered. Now we are in December. In what we understand, even the rates for the 3 sectors has not been decided. And mostly being new scheme is not coming, and already given the commitment by the DGFT and the Ministry of Commerce, MEIS may continue beyond December 20. It may go up to March. Now question comes, who will be eligible for this scheme? Yes, it will not be like any IS where they decide a specific product which India want to concentrate for exports. It will concentrate on each and every sector. Wherever the embedded tax which are not refunded currently, or levies or duties or charges or fee, all sectors will be covered. Whether they manufacture or they produce, or they go into exempted products or taxable products, all will be covered. Whether you are a manufacturer or a trader, if you are exporter, you will be eligible, like in current NEIS. SEG and EOU units will also be eligible. We need to look into it how they will differentiate the rate between the DTA, a domestic tariff area, and the SEG and EOU. Because obviously the embedded tax cost will be lower in non-DTA. They will not put any minimum turnover criteria, whether you are doing a 1 rupee or 100 crores benefit will come to you. Even an e-commerce platform via courier is going to be part of. Currently, there is so much debate and restriction is being put on the courier mode. Last but not very important point, a country of origin for the manufactured product or produced product should be India. It should not be re-exported where you are first importing, doing some process only as a minimum add-on and then doing exports. That will be specifically excluded from the scheme. Now question comes, what are the taxes? If we just divide our supply chain for a manufacturer, start with the input supplier who will have their own cost added. Then you have pre-production, then you have production, then you have the finished goods, then your distribution. Complete back-end supply chain still have number of charges, fees, taxes, duty in India levied, especially for the manufacturers, which are still not refunded directly or indirectly, either in GST or in non-GST regime. Even I'm covering about the state industry policy, where they're giving the specific benefits for the specific sectors if they invest in the particular state. If we talk about the relevant taxes which committee has decided, first one, state levies, any VAT because on the fuel used for transportation, for captive power generation, whether using farm sector only for specific products, mandi tax where lots of debate is going on current farm laws, whether depend now on the whether mandi tax will still continue or it will be abolished. As of now, it is abolished by based on the amended farm laws. Electricity duty is levied on the per unit or in the bill by the specific government up to 2 rupees. It may be refunded by the state industry policy, but it's to be part of this computation. Stamp duty on export documents. Certain documents we need to get stamped or using LC or other point that needs to be also part of this computation. Any embedded SGST on procurement of pesticides, fertilizer, or any other inputs. Any SGST on procurement from unregistered dealer, because even any cost or taxes which he is not taking credit, he is transferring to you, that can also be considered. And also a core on which you are paying the cess and SGST, that has also to be completed. It is illustrative. You can include your factory fee, a pollution control fee, a testing fee, a license fee. If you are extracting some mining part and any supplier supplying you like coal, he's paying the license fee, he's paying the UDF, MDF charges on which whether they pay or you pay the reverse charge, that all can also be part of the computation. and any inputs for transport. It's very also important. Today, you pay the GST for JTA, but they are procuring the vehicle, fuel, tires, maintenance, and all, which is added in the cost and then billed to you. So any embedded cost on the inputs from supplier, including from transport sector, that can also be covered, including you can take a lawyer. Wherever you're paying in a reverse charge, that can also be part of this cost. Again, about standard taxes, you pay excise duty still on the fuel because it's not part of the GST. And government and industry is expecting that fuel, your stamp duty, all immovable property part, and other levies, including alcohol, should be part of the GST. So it might happen once all this subsumed in GST, the rates may reduce, or the scheme may also go away. That also to be looked into. Here also any central taxes embedded in the inputs from unregistered dealer, on the inputs procured from the suppliers, on coal, on transport sector, this all has to be part of to decide what the rate for a specific product. And please note, it's only indicative. You can include any other duties, levies, and all to be part of. So now, question comes. We have seen the scheme. We have seen who is eligible, why the scheme came into existence, what all taxes needs to be looked into to compute. Now, question comes. What are key features which will give in compared to others, which we will see the pros and cons? But here, if you ask me, it's completely a remission of tax. It's no extra. It's not like MEIS. It's more like a drawback, where they've computed based on CON norms, based on the content of import, and they've decided a drawback rates. And if you see, after GST, drawback rates are extensively reduced. Here also, they are going by the local taxes, central tax, state taxes, mandi taxes, municipality taxes, and all. It will not cover the import taxes, PCD. Please note, because you are already getting a drawback on that. So all the remission of Indian taxes, not on the import side, will be covered here. It will be same like MEIS. It will be the credit scripts which will be credited to you in the electronic credit ledger on your custom side. They are also looking to be a common ledger for a customs and GST. It may happen they allow to pay, but we need to look into how the new policy is announced. But currently, you cannot use the MEIS script to pay any GST. You can only use to pay a BCD. It may continue or they may relax it. It all depends on the way the new policy is announced. All the exports currently under the customs are go through RMS based on the parameter decided. RMS is a risk management system where they decide based on the nature of exports, product, exporter, country with the exporting to decide whether how much risk is involved and how much inspection, search, seizure, confiscation will be involved. So being RMS will be involved, we can expect the release of scripts will be faster and easier. We need to look into how the weights on the ground is implemented. Now, question of how much we allocate. We have seen first time in the history where they put a restriction in the MEIS around 10,000 crore. Initial 5K, then increased to 10,000 crores of total allocation from September to December. That's why there is a restriction of 2 crore maximum benefit of MEIS under every individual IEC for 4 months. Issues other because even from April you cannot file the application. That is an independent aspect. But question comes, why we need to have a allocation when we are going from actual taxes which I am bearing today, which are unrefunded? Why me or a government or association needs to bother about allocation from government. It should be independent, but otherwise committee will restrict the benefit subject to allocation. They will not go by the real data. Then why we need to have such big task? Why we need a committee? They can simply say, this is the rate, you take it. The government should relook into it. Initial amount allocated was 35,000 crore, increased to now 50,000 crore. But in my view, no such allocation should stop the committee to decide the rates. It should be independent of the allocation. It's also a good point. We can see the way the e-invoice coming into picture. Returns are getting automated. Customs, GST, income tax are interlinked. Tomorrow we can see a particular e-invoice uploaded by you directly gives data to income tax, customs, and GST cell, and you're getting your balance sheets, the exports data, and all are ready in one place. In India, e-invoice still is being shared, not complete digitally. If you see about Malaysia, there the system speaks to each other. I will not generate e-invoice and share with the other customer or a supplier. My system will release and my system will share with them. I will not share any mail or a PDF or a hard copy. So we may see such type of changes or revolution may come to India. And already government decided like e-invoice first for 500 crore and above, then for 100 crore, and we can expect even it may go up to 5 crore and above from April. So way the government is bringing all these changes, yes, it's to synergize and having an integrated data sharing management. We can expect it will help also in faster refunds under Rule 89 and Rule 96 of GST. So that's about the key features of the scheme. If you see the benefits, yes, thanks, it will be comply with the WTO norms, so that tomorrow again US or other countries should not put a case against India and question it why the scheme prevails. You are getting all taxes by the name of GST or by RODTEP refunded to you. So no embedded cost of tax or duties or levies or fee will be part of your price of the product. So obviously it will help you to be more competitive in the international market. And obviously the way the government is bringing an Atmanirbhar Bharat, a make in India, the way the PLI scheme came for the pharma sector, for electronic mobile sector, and 10 more sectors which really announced in the month of November. The objective is to make India as a manufacturing hub, competing with our strong neighbor, and the product should be of international standards, and obviously it will help with business growth. That will also be one of the benefit which RODTEP will provide by remitting all the taxes. Even the government is planning to connect exporters as a KYC part of the banks, so that even a loan generation or a loan section will be faster. We no need to again submit all documents. That may come in future. Tax assessment under customs and GST will be faster. So now why we are telling it's a scheme wake-up call. Only 15 days left in the December. The scheme has to be announced by January. Committee is working from last 4 months. Even for a single product, rate not decided. No guidelines, no policy, no procedure has been shared a draft with the industry players. Even the feedback or the way the response coming from industry is not as per expectation of committee. MEI is going to be expired by December. Exporter looking for the benefit to compete in the market. Is all this question comes, why the industry or exporters cannot compile their data and share with their respective associations. So it's the right time to lobby or represent, so that you should not lose any benefit. When the government is planning to have a WTO compliant scheme, and the scheme which is remitting you all taxes which are not currently refunded under GST or any other regime, that should come back to you, so that tomorrow our products, Make in Indian Atmanirbhar Bharat, follow and act. As I told you, committee has shared the 3 formats with annexures: R1, R2, R3. All has to be filled for each and every individual product. For the period October 19 to March 20, only by a DTA supplier. Data is not collected now from the SCG and EOU. It has to be certified by the company and also by a chartered accountant or a cost accountant. At least 5 industry players has to give data to their respective associations, and then they have to share with the committee. On that basis only the rates will be decided. You can see the format on the screen. You need to provide data for each and every aspect for relevant period, about your capacity, your exports, your local sales, your price, your CO norms, unit quantity. If I go in detail about your input side, what we discussed about all types of levies, fuel, electricity duty, your inputs, embedded cost, your transport, your lawyer, any RCM, all needs to be provided in this format with backing. Any sheet or any data which is not based on the backup, it will not be considered. And backup means, for example, I am telling I am consuming 1000 liters of fuel in a month on the input transportation, on transportation from job worker, then distribution for employee movement. In all these cases, I need to substantiate based on consumption bills or other data which I can provide. Same like for my electricity duty. If I'm paying 1 rupee or 2 rupee per unit, I need to share the bills. Then comes your license fee, testing fee, factory fee, pollution control board fee, your job worker charges, or you can include your pollution control board charges, any mining fee, which are also now in the codes to say it is not applicable. But all needs to be provided in all this format R1, R2, R3. Even for captive power, you're using the fuel or a coal. It all has to be also part of this computation. And as per the committee, if you're changing in the format, you need to specify it, and that has also to be certified by the CE. That's about the 3 formats where the data has to be given. And even I would request all the players to take the wake-up call on this point, share with committee. It's good for industry and good for all associations, so that we timely share data. And in case you're not able to, we'll suggest you to take the experts' advice, because it is the right time to decide the rates. In case it is missed out, and then you decide you should have got 4%, but you're getting only 2%, then it will take a long time for representation and further changes. Even if they're given the annexures, like you are given add-on vehicle, you need to provide how many kilometers from point to point, how many times. for procurement of raw material, imported material, export of finished product, and inter-unit and job work movement, employee movement. That's a very good point. Even any cost you're incurring, you can add it here. And it's by again a simple illustration. If you can see the Andhra fuel price, which is 78, currently you're paying taxes of around 49 rupees, which is part of your finished product cost, the fuel cost. That can be reimbursed as a part of RoDTEP. The initiative is very good, directly or indirectly. We can see whether it's like a blessing in disguise due to complaint by US. Now government is thinking about to make a tax-free export of the products. It's a very good initiative, and we need to see how the way it comes. Even if you can see this annexure, any charges like factory license renewal, a boiler inspection, a pressure vessel testing charges, fire extinguisher. You can imagine how many charges a manufacturer pays even for setting up a single factory. A testing charges, freight, passenger elevator, air and water consent charges, which charged by municipality, any pollution control board fees, water cess, sewage tax, property tax, solid waste, license fee, profession tax, and even the bank charges. Banks can take the credit only up to 50% on their procurement. It means balance credit, which they are not taking now, they're transferring to you as a cost. That also you can do. Any embedded tax and duties, inputs in services under RCM or transport sector can also be part of. So that's about the way the competition to be made, what to be covered, who to certify, for which period. In the month of August, so many queries raised by the FIEO members, which has been clarified by committee, mostly about what to include. Do we need to include only the product individual, or we can give consolidated sheet? We have already given to Ministry of Commerce. Do we again have to give data? Can I include my job work charges? Can I include my testing charges? Can I include my local body levies? Can I include my PCB charges? What about my input supplier embedded cost? Whether we need to talk to DGFT or you, whether rates will change as per drawback schedule, what will be the rate, what a policy. They have clarified all the maximum queries as on date. Now it's onus on the industry players and association to fast track and have the rates decided for each and every product, because this scheme is open for each and every sector, for manufacturer, merchant exporters, for DTA, SEG, EOU, and all. So that's about the scheme. Now comes a brief comparison how the scheme looks compared to current prevailing MEIS and RoSCTL. If you ask me, there are three main differences. One is the computation. The way the computation is made for a RoSCTL, same way it's being done for a RoDTEP. It's going to be a WTO compliant like the current RoSCTL, not like MEIS. Incentives may be reduced, and it all onus on the players to decide. All other are similar on the way it will be issued, reading of scripts, timeline and all, which we will know when the new foreign trade policy announced in April 2021. The question comes, what are the benefits and negatives compared to current MEIS? Because current MEIS is giving the good benefit up to 5%. The major point is you are getting all the unrefunded taxes paid back to you in the name of RoDTEP. You can assume based on your sector you're working. And mostly for a capital intensive sector like steel, auto, pharma, all the sector will have the major embedded cost in compared to the labor intensive sector. Even include the toll tax which your transporter is paying. So there is no limit, no restriction for putting my all taxes which are currently embedded. As we've seen, tax assessment going to be faster. You will get a lower rate of interest on capital loans, higher insurance cover, and financial incentives. Even the government is planning to allow a ECB or other loans also at cheap rate for exporters by connecting the scheme and RMS and other aspects. Loan availability will may be higher for MSME. We have to see how the way it works. And the main point, it will be real time. Negative, if the main negative is the scheme will not give the benefit as higher as MEIS based on our initial discussion in 2-3 key sectors and the competition what we have seen. We need to look into how the way government decide, because even they have put an allocation of the fund for this scheme up to 50,000 crore. Whether they will go by the real rates or unrefunded talks, or they decide based on allocation. So if you ask me, allocation of 50,000 crore is not enough. If we compare all the addition of ROSCTL, MEIS, other schemes, it will need at least a 1 lakh crore plus, which government has to put and give it to exporters. And you can see the way that even the media industry responding, even these all other relevant news which came in last 1 month, like how did not decided, it's yesterday news. So MEIS may extend till March. Industry need more clarity on RODTEP, even on Carota, which recently announced to restrict taking the benefit under various free trade agreements. These are all the key media news where they want a flexibility in fixing rates, no allocation, covering each and every aspect. Even industry now don't know how the inputs from supplier, how the banks have the embedded costs. Even they requested committee to get the all India basis data, so that all such embedded cost add-on can be decided by them. And whatever data they have, they can share. They should not put the onus completely on exporters. Else, the whatever access is currently being done, it will not be fruitful, and it may go beyond March also. And they may then decide the rates on random basis. Even Aluminium Association, because iron is still the key sector, which is now into the part. When the aluminium sectors want to be part of the scheme, because they have the export duty on their part. Even the Farm Excel requesting the plant inspection and licensing should be also part of our duty. That's correct. Whatever unrefunded levies, taxes, duty, fee, and all should be part of the scheme to decide the rates. Now, question comes: what exporters needs to do? Yes, they need to decide what how the MEIS versus this scheme will impact, how to get maximum benefit, what all embedded levies, taxes, duty are part of my current cost of production and sale. My backend supply chain needs to be looked into. A business plan along with all this format needs to be prepared, whether sharing with committee or not. At least you should know what all taxes you are currently paying which are not refunded under GST era or other regime. And then I would suggest you to strongly represent as an individual or through association, so that the rates which are decided by you should match to the cost currently involved for you, the way the even drawback rates are decided. And even I can go for a brand rates. There should be one option where I can go for brand RODTEP rates. Why should I go by the industry rate? Even that has been requested by association. So tomorrow, if I have product like auto, then I'm getting 2% in RODTEP. But if I do my computation is coming around 5%, I should be allowed to go and apply for revision. Being a Department of Revenue, a drawback division is involved, that can also be looked into as option by the government, so that no one is having impact and people go by their even individual data. So that's all about the scheme. Maybe I can request Satya, any specific question people have, we can take it now. Satya, over to you.
Yes. Srinivas D, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sorry, madam, no questions. I think something is pressed accidentally.
Okay, no problem.
Thank
Sheikh, do you have any questions? You raised your hands, and Balraj.
Are we eligible to go with SEIS line, Service Export Incentive Scheme?
So, Mr. Balraj, SEIS is independent of now the scheme. So currently, up to 18-19 they are allowing. For 19-20 they yet to open the window. But we can expect a new scheme which will replace the SEIS. Already government is committed, which will come in the new funded policy. And this scheme will not impact the current SEIS or the future replacement scheme to be coming to picture.
So the other one is other than the exports, it's like the procurement of petrol, diesel, and CNG, and duty levied on electricity and mandi tax. All these things we need to claim manually with the auditors, the declaration and other documentations.
Yes, sir. You need to compute for your product, your sector. The data in the form R1, R2, R3 has to be compiled, and then it has to be certified by you, by CA with backup. And that data to be shared by through specific associations and then to committee to decide the rates. All exercise a manual. In case you have the all data ready, you can now also share with the relevant association.
Okay. From which period it is applicable? 1st of April?
October 19 to March 20, the data to be provided. And currently also the committee is taking the data.
What is the timeline to submit the document?
The timeline was till September, 9 September. You've seen the way we see COVID Tariq pe Tariq. But now there is no timeline. Whenever you do it faster so that they can decide the rate for your company or a sector. And if in case the brand rate concept comes, then you can go independently also tomorrow once the scheme comes into picture.
Okay. Thank you.
And Rahul Kumar, you can unmute yourself. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Hello.
We can
Mr.
hear
Rahul.
you.
Yeah, hello. Are you hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Rahul.
Yeah. So can we get the RODTEP on import also?
No, sir. You already drawback is there.
Okay.
Import aspect BCD is not part of computation. It's only covered the other levies at central, state, and local level.
Okay. So after this scheme, drawback will be available or it will be replaced by RODTEP?
No, it will be available. This scheme is only replacing the current MEIS and ROSCTL. drawback is run by custom department. It will continue.
Okay. So how much percentage we can get on export?
It all depend on individual product, but what based on initial data which we've seen for 2-3 sectors, maximum rate will be up to 3% on the FOB value.
Up to 3% maximum rate.
Yeah. On FOB.
For all the
But people are asking up to 6%.
For all the product?
I am giving a range. So up to 3 means it may be 1, 1.52. Same like currently you have the drawback rates or MEIS rate. It will go by the specific product and sector.
Okay.
So like if you ask me ROSCTL for textile and made-ups and garments, the rate is up to 8.5%.
Okay. So the scheme will avail by online, like we are getting MEIS scheme benefit.
Same, correct. We need to apply online on DGFT portal. And mostly the procedure, form, everything will remain same. It's only going to be changed the concept and the policy.
Okay. So by when we can get concept and all those things about RODTP?
What based on the draft policy on FTP, based on our internal understanding, it's already drafted.
Okay.
It's now with the ministry. They are reviewing it from legal and other perspective, and we can expect maybe by mid of February they will announce the scheme. Mid of February, after budget.
Till then we can get MEIS.
So if you ask me, MEIS from April 20 onwards, you cannot file the application. But being this scheme going to be extended, so MEIS will continue till this scheme does not come into picture. That's a commitment given by even the Commerce Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal.
Okay. So till December we can file it and get that incentive, right?
You can, but now the portal is not allowing any LEO, let export order, on or after 1st April to be filed on DGFT portal. So indirectly, you are not getting it now, but you will get it.
Yeah. That's it. Okay. Fine. Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rahul. Thank you.
Sheikh, you can unmute yourself. Durga, go ahead. Your voice is not audible.
Or you can put the query in the Q&A box also in case any issue on the audio.
Mic.
Seventeen, 18 also the now.
Allowed. See, no, it's just trying. It's not allowing to file.
No, we have security is there, but the problem is all we have in different HSM.
Hello. Can you repeat your query, sir?
Mr. Vinit,
Yes.
sir, when we are trying to file the MEIS, it's not allowing, as you were mentioning, because of the blockage by the DGFT itself. Now for ROT, can we apply from January itself once the clarification comes from the government? Because we are now neither using MEIS nor this, like we are stuck right now.
Correct. The point is, government has already clarified. Till RODTEP is not completely come into existence, MEIS will continue. And I understand currently you're not able to apply because DGFT has put restriction on its portal.
Correct, sir.
But maybe they will open this restriction, and you no need to worry. This benefit will come to you. Maybe not now, but in the coming months, you will be able to apply for MEIS. And mostly this scheme will come only from April, and MEIS will be extended beyond December till March.
Okay, so they may unblock this from Jan 1st once the clarity comes, right?
Correct.
That's what you mean. And one more clarity required on ROTDP. When the scheme starts in April, it will allow for earlier pending shipping bills of which we could not claim under MEIS, right? It's not like a prospective effect; it's retrospective also, right? For claiming the benefit. For example, if there are shipping bills related to FY 1920, which we could not claim in MEIS due to some particular reason, so that benefits can be claimed under RODTEP, right?
No, I will just tell you how it works. Even when the MEIS came into existence, earlier FMS, FPS, ML, FPS exist. So any LEO, let export order, up to 31st March 31st 2015, people has to file a old benefits, and only from 1st April 15 they have to file the MEIS. In the same way, up to 31st March 20 or up to 31st December 20, they need to file as a MEIS, whether they file within now or within 18 months, which is the last time to file it. Only any LEO from 1st April onwards, let export order, it can be only claimed whether from 1st January or 1st April as a RODTEP. So it will go by the LEO date, not by the other perspective.
Oh, it's a prospective date. Understood. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So Vinit sir, we have a question from Kaiful Sheikh. For pharmaceutical industries, goods manufacturing in the HP and Assam, will those products exported from such states will be eligible for ODAP?
It will be. So wherever, because still there is no exemption now continue in GST. But whatever earlier used to be, they are getting the benefits based on one particular scheme. So whatever refunds are getting it directly, indirectly under GST era, that will be excluded for a computation. Otherwise, even HP and Uttarakhand will also be eligible. So there will be no debar on any state based on any additional benefit, even if you're getting any state industrial benefit or a GST era benefit. Irrespective of that, you will get the benefit under RODTEP, but subject to computation of the rates, excluding all such refunds which you're getting now.
Okay. So is there any tentative rates we can know? As not, we are getting about 3% on MEIS.
Can you repeat, Ms. Satya?
Is there any tentative rates we can know? As not, we are getting about 3% on MEIS. So
currently, tentative rate is between 1 to 3%, what we understand. But it may change. But if you're getting now 3%, it may get same or it may get lower than that. But you cannot expect higher based on our understanding. But in case you believe you should get higher, please submit data through industry association to the committee so that you can get a maximum benefit. It's a good opportunity in case you believe you're going to get a higher benefit.
Any other questions? Vinit sir, we have one more question
Okay.
from Saili. How to capture data for prior stage cost, especially for transportation cost, as it is the most important factor as per form R issued by MOF.
Yes, they are completely correct. And if we take an example, because we need to first decide where all the places you're using the transporter only for the movement of inputs or even employees for movement of job worker data goods and input side, then within the factory, inter-unit, and then finished goods. So we should have a single data for all such transportation. And then we should divide in two parts. One is the fuel cost, where we will add the amount. And second is that particular transporter or number of transporter, what all costs they are incurring. Now getting data from transporter is very tough. But yes, there are so many industry players who are corporation all. They are ready to share their data, where you will know procurement of their vehicle, of any charges for maintenance, for change of tires, replacement of engine, all. That all should be compiled, and then we should decide fuel cost plus this input embedded in the transport charges. Then it should be added and given to them. It's yes, a lengthy exercise where you need to coordinate with the so many players, but it's indirectly a good one in case tomorrow even government brings a brand rate concept under RODT, like now in drawback, so that you can have maximum benefit from this scheme.
Yeah, one last question, whether the data needs to be furnished every year per each company?
Currently not, it's only from October 2019 to March 26 month data needs to be submitted to committee. And in case they bring the brand concept, then we need to give, otherwise we don't need to give it. It's only one time exercise now.
Okay. I hope questions are clear. And thank you, Vinit sir, for wonderful webinar. We are glad that everyone got a lot of useful info in this session. And thank you everyone for participating in this webinar. I'll be sharing you the recording session of this webinar to your email IDs. You can have a look and please share with your colleagues as well. Yeah, that's all for today. We hope to see you in next webinar. Thank you, sir. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Mr. Satya, and thanks all for joining today's session. Thank you so much.